Hello everybody, Rain Silver Kids here once again. This time back at you with the Hidden Attribute series. This time covering the Fire attribute. I think it is an attribute that's unfortunately not very strong in Go format, but that it still has a few hidden gems within it. And I hope to share some that maybe you could think to build some fun decks or maybe include as additions to a deck type that already exists to make your deck a little bit different. I'm gonna start here with the Iron Blacksmith Kotetsu, a card that you usually see in things like Ben Key OTK, but that people have been using with Marazada Zapper a lot lately. As well, besides those OTK strategies, I have also noticed people use this in GOAT control decks to search out cards. And when you play this card, the cards that you're looking to search for, which it's a level 2 Fire Beast Warrior Flip 500/500, and its full effect is add one equip spell from your deck to your hand. The two main cards that you use in most decks anyway are Snatch Steal and Premature Burial, so those are pretty good targets right there. But some other targets you could potentially include are United We Stand, which is pretty useful in GOAT decks. As well, some of the less used ones include Wicked Breaking Flamebridge Bow, I believe it's pronounced Bow, which requires you to discard a card from your hand to activate, but the equipped monster gains 500 attack and negates the effects of the opponent's monsters it destroys by battle. That's like the Hades version of the effect, where it'll negate flip effects as long as you're destroying them at battle. As well, it will negate the effects of recruiters like Giant Rat and Tomato and Angel, and it will also permanently stop Sinister Serpent from activating its effect while it's in the graveyard. As well, there's Big Bang Shot, which increases the monster's attack by 400 and inflict piercing damage. It has its own combos, especially if you are playing a Shore Priest. You can basically OTK the opponent if they play Scapegoat. Then there's Autonomous Action Unit, which you can pay 1500 life points to special summon an opponent's monster from their graveyard to your side of the field. So it's a little bit like a Premature Burial, but it relies on the opponent's graveyard instead. It could be interesting just to try out Iron Blacksmith Kotetsu maybe as a one of in some decks or a two of at most. I have a quote-unquote flip equip control deck that includes Iron Kotetsu that is on Jinzo and Tonic's channel. If you want to check that out, I'll include it in the description. The next monster that I would like to highlight is Tyrant Dragon, which is a level 8 fire dragon with 2900 attack and 2500 defense, which if it destroys an opponent's monster at battle, it can attack once again in a row, and it negates the effects of trap cards that target it. And as well, unfortunately though, if this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you have to tribute a dragon monster. So its first effect makes it very similar to Black Luster Soldier, and it only has 100 less attack than Black Luster Soldier. The downside to this card, of course, is besides that 100 attack, meaning it can't even trade with Black Luster Soldier, is that it's not as easy to summon, and even if you get to cheat it out by summoning it from the grave, it still requires you to tribute something. But it does have that negate a targeting trap effect, which can come up with Sakuretsu Armor and Raigeki Break, and occasionally with a Compulsory Evacuation Device. Something interesting about Tyrant Dragon, by the way, is that it has a ruling that if you summon it with Call of the Haunted, it ends up destroying Call of the Haunted after it's summoned, but then it is not destroyed by Call of the Haunted's effect because Call of the Haunted's effect is negated. So that's just an interesting side thing there. Next up, one way that you can use Tyrant Dragon to cheat it out without having to summon it from the grave is in a reasoning deck. Maybe you can even just include it as a one of, or I've seen people play reasoning decks that focus around fire monsters, reasoning gate decks, and in those kinds of decks, Tyrant Dragon is especially powerful, being able to banish it for other cards, which I'll mention soon, and then bring it back with Dimension Fusion is pretty strong. Then next up, I want to bring up Flame Ruler, which is I only bring up because you can use it to summon Tyrant Dragon with only one tribute, because Flame Ruler is treated as two tributes for the tribute summon of a fire monster, and Flame Ruler is easily summonable with UFO Turtle, which is the recruiter for fire monsters, because it has 1500 attack. Then next up we have Command Knight, a level 4 fire warrior, 1200 attack, 1900 defense. The 1900 defense means that it's going to be protected from most monsters in the format, except for, unfortunately, the very prevalent Chaos monsters and Blade Knights. As well, a lot of people are starting to use more Berserk Gorillas to fight against warrior decks. But this card gives all warrior monsters you control, not on the field period, 400 attack. So you can break ties with Blade Knights, and this is technically a 1600 attack monster that you can summon off of UFO Turtle. As well, it has an effect that if you control another monster your opponent's control cannot target this card for attacks. That causes a kind of mini lock if you have two Command Knights on your side of the field. As well, if you are playing it in a deck that uses Scapegoat, you can keep it on the field for quite a long time. And just a useful way to keep it so that your opponent can't attack into her, and then your stronger monsters end up getting weaker. So I use this card in my Ultimate Baseball Kid deck to boost up Ultimate Baseball Kid, and again, it's a good target for UFO Turtle. As well, you might be able to, if you were feeling really spicy, to include it as a one-of in a warrior deck. Maybe not Chaos Warriors, but just kind of a more warrior-focused deck. The next card I wanted to talk about was Lady Silent of the Flames. Level 4 Pyro, 1500 and 1000. And it has a flip effect of banish the top 3 cards of your deck and inflict 800 damage to your opponent. It sounds really bad on paper. However, in a return from the different dimension deck, this can be pretty decent because you could potentially banish some cards that you want to summon off of those cards that I mentioned, and you get to inflict 800 damage to your opponent in the process. Or if the opponent ends up knocking this, you're still getting 3 or however many, 2 or 3 1500 attack monsters banished from your deck, which is in that case even better than Dekoichi. Although of course Dekoichi has the better attribute, and being able to draw is 99% of the time better than banishing and inflicting 800. But I think in the right deck, like a Return from the Different Dimension fire deck, this is pretty decent. Then we have Masked Dragon, level 3 dragon with 1400, 1100. And when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one dragon type monster with 1500 less attack from your deck, and it does not have to be in defensive position, so it can summon itself like most of the recruiters can. As well, some of the interesting targets include Twin-Headed Behemoth, which, if it's destroyed, gets to special summon itself back with 1000 attack, but you can only do that once per duel. Armed Dragon level 3 to summon the higher level Armed Dragons once it becomes your standby phase. Different Dimension Dragon, which is a level 5 with 1200, 1500. It cannot be destroyed by spell or trap effects that do not target it, such as Mirror Force or Widespread Ruin or Torrential Tribute. And this card cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster that has 1900 or less attack. If it was 2000 or less attack, this would be a much better card, because Blade Knight is very prevalent again. Not a great card, but I think it's an interesting card, being partially due to it being a light monster. There's also Element Dragon, who gains 500 attack if you control a fire monster, and if you control a wind monster and this card destroys the opponent's monster at battle, it can attack once again in a row. And Masked Dragon is a fire to give it the 500, and Armed Dragon or Behemoth are wind monsters, so it can potentially get both in a deck that uses it and Masked Dragon. There's also Troop Dragon, which, if it's destroyed by battle, special summons another Troop Dragon. You'd really only use this as a target if you just wanted to stall out the opponent with as many monsters from your deck as possible. And then next up is Manticore of Darkness, a level 6 Beast Warrior, 2300, 1000. Most people know what this does, but during the end phase, if it is in the graveyard because it was sent to this turn, you can send one Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard to special summon it from your graveyard. A lot of people know this for the loop with Card of Safe Return, but you could even just use it in a aggro style deck, especially because there's a lot of Beast Warriors that have decent effects and stats in Go format, such as Enraged Battle Ox and Berserk Gorilla and Gyakugire Panda. So I think you could even just, if you're not focusing on too much of a strategy like, for instance, the Gaia Power strategy or the Chaos strategies, of course, then Manticore of Darkness could make an interesting addition to that deck, just to be able to return it over and over and over again as a decent beater. Next up is Grenmaju Aiza. It is a level 3 fiend with question mark stats, and its attack defense are equal to the number of your banished cards times 400. So it's a card that goes together well with Lady Saint on the Flames, who essentially gives it 1200 attack each time its effect is used, and can be a interesting finisher in a deck that uses Bazoo, for instance. And besides that, I have always really enjoyed its artwork, and I think it's a pretty cool card. Then we have 18 Trap Disposal Unit, a level 2 machine with 300, 400. That says it is basically a quick effect of when the opponent activates a trap card, you can tribute it to negate the activation of the trap card and destroy it. So you can use it as OTK protection for your deck to stop your opponent's Mirror Force or Torrential Tribute or Sakuretsu Armor that's going to stop you from being able to win that turn. Unfortunately, there's not many easy ways to get this out, and its attribute isn't very desirable, so it doesn't have much application in Go format, but it's a card that I've personally always wanted to try out, maybe in a fire or machine OTK based deck. Then next up we have Charcoal and Pachi, which is notable despite being a non-effect monster because it is level 1 and it has 2100 defense, which I believe is the highest defense for a level 1 monster in Go format. So The only reason you would use it is because you want to use Metamorphosis on it to summon Thousand Eyes Restrict, and it has a huge butt to be able to take advantage of or to stall out for as long as possible till you get Metamorphosis. Although, unfortunately, actually, there isn't too much of a difference between 2000 and 2100 defense and Go format. So usually it just gets overshadowed by DD Trainer, which has 2000 defense and is dark, but I still find it an interesting card. And I used it one time for a 4th of July deck that I built, which included Hungry Burger, which if you're interested in that, let me know and I could post a profile on that sometime. Maybe next July. Then we have Twin-Headed Beast, which is a level 6 beast with 1700 and 1900. And it is notable because it can attack twice each battle phase. So again, you could use it in a Reasoning Gate deck to summon it, and it can potentially attack directly for a boatload of damage or take out 2 goats. As well, you can summon it with Ninjutsu Art of Transformation if you're using a ninja deck, because it is a beast, and potentially get basically 3 attacks in a battle phase by attacking with the ninja and then tributing it and summoning Twin-Headed Beast and attacking twice. So it could be very explosive damage to quickly end the game. Then you have Spirit of the Flames, level 4 Pyro with 1700, 1000. You special summon it by removing a fire monster from your graveyard, and it gains 300 attack during a battle phase. So basically it has 2000 attack, and it's special summonable. So that's what makes it good. It's one of the sort of payoffs for playing a fire-based deck. One of the better reasons to play one, because being able to just slap down a 2000 attack monster could be pretty good. Inferno is a similar card with 1100, 1900. The major difference is, besides the stats, is when this card destroys an opponent's monster at battle and sends to the graveyard, you inflict 1500 damage to them. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with tokens like Scapegoat tokens, because it has to send them to the graveyard, and tokens are not sent to the grave. Otherwise, I think this card could have had potential, but as it is, it can destroy some monsters like Dekoichi and Sangan, but a lot of stuff that's not going to take care of. And with 1900 defense, again, that's almost a good level, but there are a lot of common monsters being played right now that can get exactly 2000, plus chaos monsters, which are over 2000. So I would say it's definitely a weaker cousin to Spirit of Flames. Then we have Foxfire, a level 2 Pyro with 300, 200, and during the end phase, this card was destroyed and sent to the graveyard this turn, and it was face up at the start of the damage step. You special summon this card from the graveyard, and this face up card cannot be attributed for tribute summon. I've actually played this card before, and it's not as bad as you would think, because being able to get a monster over and over and over again can be helpful, but there's just so many hitches to this effect, requiring it to be destroyed by battle, had to be face up at the start of the battle, so you can't set it and then have it come back, and your opponent could, if they really wanted to, just book this and then attack into it, and again, same sort of effect. And even if you can get it over and over and over again, it can't be used for tribute summon. So why do you want it to keep coming back is the question. Interesting card, fun card, and I love the art, but unfortunately there's just a lot of things holding it back. Then next up we have Yamada Dragon and Hinomikagu Tsuchi, and they're both spirit monsters that require 2 tributes. Yamana Dragon is 2600, 3100, and Kagetsuchi is 2800, 2900. And Yamana Dragon's effect is the Spirit Monster effect. But when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. Something I've seen people do with this, because it is a Spirit Monster, is set it. And pretty much nothing can attack over in defense mode, and the opponent might, maybe by some chance, attack into it in defense mode, then trigger its effect to draw cards. Or you could summon it and attack, but of course it takes 2 tributes, so it's kind of difficult to do that. One of the ways again to get over that is Flame Ruler, that counts as 2 tributes for fire monsters. Or if you're playing Spy, sometimes you can get 2 tributes relatively easy. And Kagetsuchi's effect is, if it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, they discard all cards in their hand during the next draw phase before they draw. So on your opponent's draw phase, basically they're going to only have the card that they drew for turn to work with. And it's a pretty powerful effect, but at the same time, again, this is a 2 tribute monster that doesn't stick around. Some people have tried to get this card to work, but it's very difficult. But I commend them for trying their very best. I'm sure that some people have won games because of this card. And if you have played any of these cards that I featured here, or if you have ideas of how to use them that I haven't brought up, feel free to mention in the comments. As well, if there's any other fire monsters that you think are of note that aren't widely known already, feel free to mention them in the comments as well. Thank you very much, and have a good one.